Hello and welcome to another section of the Java Core tutorials. In these tutorials, I'll be talking about a for loop. Now, I learned there was a boy who went to school and was given a punishment to write, I will come to school 100 times. Now, if it were you, are you going to be writing, I will come to school 100 times? No. The boy being smart, he did something using a for loop. In just 2 lines of code, he wrote 100 lines of I will come to school. Now let's try something. Now let's say you want to write I love coding and you want to print this 100 times. Well, there's a shortcut by pressing the Ctrl D and it will print it on a new line for you. So let's say you have 1 2 3 4 5 here. This is not a good way to code. As a programmer, you can do this. You are just repeating yourself. So there's a smart way to do that, which is a loop. Now this is how we do it. The first type of loop that we'll be taking a look at is for loop. So you type the for, then you bring curly braces. Now we have three things that goes in here. The first one is the loop counter. Now the loop counter is responsible for the beginning of the loop and it will determine where the loop will start from. Now we declare a variable to be responsible for the counter, and usually we use I, J, and K for that. I, maybe we can say it's index for short, but for J, I don't know. Let's say it follows I, so we use J. So let's say I equals to 0. So we initialize the counter to start from 0 and I less than 5. So I is going to count from 0 up to 5. Now after every statement, we bring a semicolon to terminate the statement. So the first one here is the counter, sorry, and the second one here is the condition, and the third one is either for incrementing or decrementing. Now in previous videos, we look about how to increment or how to increase and decrease by some number of value. So let's say I plus plus. Now here we don't terminate it with a semicolon. Then you jump outside the curly braces and you bring your open and close parentheses. Now here, anything you put here is going to loop based on the conditions here. So let's say you want to loop I love coding. So I love coding. Let's check how this works. Well, let's run it first, then I'll explain into details how it works. So just writing I love coding 1 here, we have I love coding 1 2 3 4 5 here. That's nice. Now let's look at the reason why it is so. Now I is starting from 0 and I is less than 10, is less than 5, sorry. Now starting from 0, we move to 1. So starting from 0, we move to 1. Then from 1 we move to 2. From 2 we move to 3. From 3 we move to 4. Now the condition says that it is less than 5 and the number less than 5 is 4. So counting from here, you have 1 2 3 4 5. That's why it's printed 5 times. Now this here is because we are adding 1 to each time we print this. So after the first one is executed, we add 1 to the I. That means run another second time again, then it prints this for us. Now you can start from 1 depending on any number for a normal looping condition, but when we come to arrays, it doesn't start from 1, it starts from 0 compulsory. But for other conditions, you can start from 1, you can start from 5, you can start from any number you want. So let's take 1 here. Then for it to be able to reach 5, it should be less than or equal to 5. Now let's run it again and see. Now we still have I love coding 1 2 3 4 5 times. Now to check the output of this, let's print I in addition to it. So let's run our project now. So the first time, okay, let me indent the code a bit properly to make it look more nice. So let's run it. So we have allow coding 1. That means the first looping condition is executed successfully. It executes it the second time again. Allow coding 2, allow coding 3, 4, and 5. It starts from 1 and it ends on 5 because we have I initialized by 1 and I ending by 5. Now let's make here 0 and let's make here less than 5. Now let's run the project now and see. So you can see allow coding 0 up to 4, but if you count everything here, it's 5 elements. So this is how looping works in Java. Now we can start counting from the top to the down. So in this case, I is going to start from 5. Now the condition I less than 5 is false, which shouldn't be. If the condition is false, the loop isn't going to work. So I should be greater than 0. Then it makes our condition true because 5 is greater than 0. Then we put here minus. That means reduce I by 1. So I will going to start from 5. It will reduce by 1, 4, reduce by 1, 3, reduce by 1, 2, then up to the number before 0. So let's run the project once more. Now you can see we have allow coding 5 because it starts from 5 and it ends at the number before 0, and the number before 0 is 1. So you have allow coding 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So this is how loop basically works in Java. You can use loop for a lot of things. Now in a real world application, you have music apps. Now you have a place when you hit on the loop, after a song finish playing, you can replay the song again. That means you are continuously looping the song. You can select a whole album or a whole playlist and loop it so many times and it works the same way. Now let's look at a while loop. Now for a while loop, we have our condition on top. Now let's say while int I is equal to 0. Now we type the keyword while. So while I is greater than 0, then you can see print the value of I, and each time you print the value of I, add 1 to it. Then we terminate here. Now let's come here and see. So I is always false, which isn't true. So let's put another value here. So actually, okay, let's make this run properly. So we are saying I is starting from 5. While I is less than 0, print this and add 1. So let's run our project now and see. Now this is one major problem of a while loop. If you're not careful using a while loop, you run into an infinity loop, which nobody wants to run into an infinity loop. The reason is because while I is greater than 0, definitely I is greater than 0. So if I add 1 to it, it is always be getting larger than 0. So let's look at how we can do that. Solving this error, we change here now to I equals 1. That means I is starting from 1. Now the condition here should be I less than 5. So while I is less than 5, so it is a true statement because I is less than 5. But each time the loop is printed, 1 is added to I. Now let's run the project and see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It ended at 4 because I is less than 5 and the number less than 5 is 4. But this time around, let's make the number equal to 5. So let's run it this time around and see. So we have 1 up to 5. Now what happened earlier, you might not want it to happen in your code. So in situation like this, we use a for loop. But where the while loop fits is when you are expecting a specific input from the user and the user doesn't give it to you. So if the user doesn't enter such a specific input, it continues to be printing out a condition or a statement until the user meets the requirement. Let's look at a clear example to make you understand it properly. So let's say you want the user to start a game and you want to take an input from the user to start a game. So let's say enter yes to start game. Now let's first declare a scanner variable. So scanner class scanner equals new scanner system dot in. Now out here we will take our start game. So string start is equal to scanner the small scanner dot next. Now from here we declare our while loop. Now let's say while start is not equal to sorry start. Now in this case our code is not going to work. We are going to crash because this is a string and operators like this doesn't work in string because operators like this compares two addresses, but in this case you are not comparing the address but the memory location, and this is going to be stored in a different memory location as well as this, so this isn't going to work. So it has its own method, and when you hit on the dot here you see the method here. So if scanner dot equals, now you can enter start here. Now in some cases the user might type start in capital letters and maybe all in small letters, and there are two ways to do that. The first way to do it, ignore case. So when you click on the ignore case, whether the user enters capital or small letter, it ignores the case. Since it's containing start, it will still execute. So let's continue. So while start, now this is equal to, but you want it not to be equal to, so you press the not equal to sign here, then that's exclamation sign, then your code is now smooth to run. So while not equal to this, no, I forgot, it's not yet start we want yes. So after this line, if the yes is not obtained, then it's going to loop back. But this time around we have to take the start variable again. So start is equal to scanner dot next. Now let's run our project and see. Now enter yes to start game. So let's say no. Enter yes to start game. No. Let's enter anything. Let's enter anything. Until we enter yes, it will never work. So let's enter yes and see. Now process finish because our loop condition is met. So in this way, using a while loop is very meaningful and useful. So if you don't like the video, please make sure you like and subscribe to keep this channel running. Now I would like to drop a simple assignment. Now write a code which takes the user inputs 1 or 2. If the user enters 1, that means it will print out let's start. But if the user enters 2, that means the program should quit. Using whether while loop or for loop, whichever way is convenient for you, try it. I'll put my WhatsApp link in the description. you can send it to me right on WhatsApp, or you drop it in the description, the comment section, and I'll tend to it as soon as possible. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye.